Hello and welcome once again to the ArtRD School for hashers who want to hair good and do other things good too. I'm your friendly neighborhood Snatchpunch. I'm going to lead you through this, our second lesson, how to hash. Our first lesson went over a quick overview of the Hash House Harriers, the history and things like that. This one is going to give you a little bit more of a nuts and bolts, what you can expect. If this is your first time going to a hash, this will be very helpful. If you have hashed before, this is just a quick review. Don't worry about it. This will get you through quick. All right, let's get into it. How to hash. As always, to start, here's our lesson outline. The first thing we'll go over is how to find a hash. If you have no idea if there is even a hash near you, this will be helpful. Or if you're going someplace new and you want to see if there's a hash. Then we'll go over Chalk Talk. This is where they give you an outline of what you can expect to find on the trail that you're about to go and run. Then we'll go over some types of trails. This is pretty quick and easy. Then we get to the fun stuff, the beer stop, the circle. Last but not least, we'll do a quick review of everything that we covered, just so that you don't forget anything important. All right, let's jump right in to finding a hash. Here's a nice, lovely picture of the Chicago Hash House Harriers website as it currently stands. So this might not be how it looks by the time you find it, but this is what it was when I made this video. So here's how it looks. The first and easiest thing you can do to find a hash is go to Google, type in the name of your city, and then just Hash House Harriers after it. And look, most hashes have a web presence, so you'll more than likely find something. If you don't, there may not be a hash near where you are, or it might have some weird name. Not all hashes go just by the city name. Sometimes they go by a nickname of your city, or something dirty and fun that they may have named their group after. Next thing you can do, as always, is check social media. A lot of hashes nowadays have Facebook groups, Twitter profiles, meetup groups, things like that, to try and reach out to new members just so people can find them easier. Last but not least, if none of that works, go to the Worldwide Hash Directory on half-mind.com. It has a lovely, lovely database of all the hashes. It's updated very regularly. And it's a lot easier to find a hash near you. Or and then you can look at the list of cities in your state, in your province, what have you, and see if they have one that you may be able to drive to if you can't, if there isn't one in your own home city. All right? Things you will need for going to a hash. This is quick. This is easy. This is before you go. This is what you should bring. 1, bring a desire to run and or drink beer. Not everyone can run. Some people walk. Some groups don't stress running as much. Some groups, they just walk and drink and have a good time. Just bring either or both. You'll be great. You'll have to bring your requisite hash cash, aka the money you need to pay for beer. Hashing isn't free, people. Sometimes they give individual kennels will give deals to new hashers. That's not always the case. Be prepared to bring some cold cash money. Last but not least, you will need to bring a sense of humor. All right? Hashers, it's a very dirty group. We tell lots of very juvenile jokes, so if you can't laugh at yourself, you can't laugh at dirty jokes, you might not want to come. Might not be for you. Still, you might want to check it out. There are some more PG groups out there. Most hash groups, however, in the R rated category. All right? Here we go. Let's talk about Chalk Talk. Now, what is Chalk Talk, you ask? Chalk Talk is typically done at every hash just prior to the group getting together, the pack getting together and leaving to go out and run trail. Why do we do this? Well, we do this so that the hares or another designated hasher can go through the types of marks that you are going to see while you're out on trail. Okay? This is done so that nobody gets lost, nobody gets confused. Well, people will probably still get confused because they are hashers, but this is done so that nobody gets lost and you can find your way to the beer and back to wherever things are going on later in the day. Visitors and virgins being first-time hashers, should pay extra attention at Chalk Talk so that you do not become lost while you're out on trail. Local hashers probably know the area a little better, don't have to pay as much attention. You should probably still pay attention in case there's some new marks that you maybe have not seen before. But typically, the visitors and the virgins need to pay the most attention. This is all done so that you know what to expect while you're out on trail, okay? Now, the reason why it's important for you to pay attention in Chalk Talk, especially if you're a visitor or a virgin, is because every hash has their own set of traditions. And hash marks can vary significantly from kennel to kennel. There are marks that we use here in Chicago that are completely different than the hash marks that they use, say, in Madison, Indianapolis, Bloomington, what have you. So you need to pay attention. So what you might be used to seeing might not mean the same thing where you're at if you're at a different location, okay? Some of the other things you should be prepared for: marks are typically laid in flour and or chalk, but they can be laid in other materials. I've seen people lay them with toilet paper tied around, tree branches. I've seen Post-it notes used if you're running through somebody's building, for example, things like that won't leave a mark. And also remember, flour is often colored. It's done to increase visibility in bad weather conditions, such as at night, in the winter, in the rain, yada yada. And this is also done so as not to confuse it with anthrax. Lots of hashes have had this problem, particularly in the United States, since September 11th. There was that whole anthrax scare. We had a fun one here in Chicago, and we do an anthrax theme run every year because of it. But do not get the cops called on you because some little old grandma thought there was anthrax on the ground when it was really flour. Take the time, color the flour, lay it down. All right, it's not that hard. All right, let's go over some types of trails, okay? Here we go. Just like hash marks, the trails that you can expect are going to vary from kennel to kennel based on where you're at and based on their local traditions. However, most trails can be classified by one of two different criteria. The first criteria, how the trails are laid. All right, the second criteria is where the trails begin and end. What do I mean by that? Let's go over this. Trails are considered live trails. If a hare runs out ahead of the pack, putting down marks as he goes, these are considered live trails because the hare can be caught. Depending on if the hare is caught, depending on where you're at, different things can happen. Sometimes that makes the person who caught them, they have to grab the flour or chalk and continue the rest of the trail. The other type of trail that you can expect is the dead lay trail. All right, these are done if the marks are already out there and on the ground before the pack leaves. Okay, live trails can be much more dynamic than dead trails. However, here in Chicago, we do typically do dead trails over live trails. The second way that you can go over, the second way that you can qualify types of trails are with where they begin and where they end. Trails that begin and end at the same place are typically called A to A trails. Trails that end at different locations are called A to B. Sometimes you can meet everyone at a given place at a given time, but you can't necessarily end there. You know, trails can start at a bunch of different locations, parks, people's houses, bars, what have you. But that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to go back there. So make sure that you are aware of what kind of trail it is before you get out there, just so you're just so you don't think you're going back to the start and you don't wind up there. That kind of sucks when that happens, so be aware. Okay, let's go over the fun stuff now, the beer stop. This is my personal favorite part of trail, okay? What is a beer stop, you ask? Well, while on trail, hashers will usually discover beer stops. These are places that the hares have picked for the pack to come together and enjoy beer. Pretty simple, right? Beer stops can occur anywhere on trail. They can occur early, they can occur in the middle of trail, they can occur late on trail. Be prepared. They can also occur anywhere in terms of types of places. So in public parks, again, people's houses, bars, all kinds of fun stuff. Other things to be aware of, there can be more than one stop on a trail. There can be 4, 5, 7, 8, 110. It doesn't matter, so be prepared. If you deviate from the trail, to try and catch up, if you're behind or to try to get ahead, you may miss a beer stop. Them's the breaks. Kind of sucks, but it happens. All right? And always remember, beverages other than beer can be served at beer stops. You can have shot stops. You can have Jell-O shots. You can have water stops. You can have all kinds of different things. So a beer stop, we use it to describe all these number of different things, but it might not necessarily be dubbed that based on what you're going to be drinking. All right, now we're going to go over circle. This is where the socializing happens. Circle is what is called when hashers get together to enjoy beverages, discuss trail, and everything that happened, and generally just to make fun of each other and to socialize. All right. Once the trail is completed, the pack is going to go on in. That just means we're done. We're going to go to wherever circle is happening. Sometimes that can be done at the beginning of trail, end of trail, what have you. Circle frequently, but not always, involves singing of a number of dirty rugby-style songs. This is where you really need to have a good sense of humor. This is where it really tends to weed out the people who hashing is for and who hashing isn't for. So just be prepared. If you don't like dirty songs about all number of terrible things, probably shouldn't come. And once again, during Circle Hashers World, cues or honor each other based on events that occurred while out on trail or since the last time we've seen them. Sometimes, let's say somebody trips and falls, you stop and you help them up. You think you're doing a good thing. Well, you're gonna get accused in circle. You may have to drink for that. Them's the breaks. And upon being accused and honored, a hasher will then enter the circle. Typically, he'll get a song sung at her, and then they'll drink a beverage. A lot of fun. And also, please remember there is no defense for accusations. You get accused of something, just drink. Just drink. It's really not that hard. If you do great, you get a beer. If you do terrible, you get a beer. It's not the worst thing in the world. Take it easy. Take it lighthearted. It's meant to be fun, kids. Remember that. All right, let's go over a quick review. Potential hashers are asked to bring a desire to run, a thirst for beer, money to pay for said beer, and a sense of humor. That's all you need to bring to a hash. You may want to bring more, but that's all you really need to bring. Chalk talk is done before a trail. It's designed so that everyone attending knows what to look for while running the trail. Keep that in mind, so pay attention if you're someplace new. Trails are typically classified by how they're laid and where they're going to wind up. It is important for you to know what type of trail you're on. Some people don't like live trails. Some people don't like dead trails. Some people don't like A to B trails. Some people don't like A to A trails. It's always good to make sure you know what kind of trail you're in for before you start. Beer stops are used on trail to provide the pack with much needed beer or other beverages, but typically beer. We call them beer stops even if there isn't beer there and there's some other kind of drink. All right? And once the trail is completed, the hash will hold a circle, hashers sing songs, poke fun at each other, drink, and just generally socialize. That's it. That's how you hash. It's pretty simple. It's not the hardest thing in the world. If you think this is okay with you and you think you can still do this, check out the links that I posted earlier in the show telling you how to find a hash. That's really, once you find a hash, you can come out, you can enjoy it, and you can have a good time and make some new friends. Once again, I am your leader of ceremonies here. I'm Snatchwatch, and this is the RTRD School for hashers who want to hair good and do other things good too. We'll have another lesson for you coming soon. See you then. On.